Hello everyone, I am Flourish Eniogo Olujinmi, a law student of Obafemi Awolowo University and an undergraduate intern here at Harlem Telecoms Academy. And today we'll be discussing a very crucial part of telecommunication industry in Nigeria, which is type approval of telecommunications equipment. Now, I want you to see type approval as some sort of passport for telecommunications equipment in Nigeria. While communications equipment, on the other hand, involve devices like laptop, your phones, wires, cables, and heavy-duty equipment like masts and the likes. Now, before I proceed, it is important to know what type approval is. Type approval is an authorization from the Nigerian Communication Commission, hereinafter referred to as NTC, to use or supply equipment in Nigeria. Before I proceed, I'll be taking you through certain legal frameworks that support type approval of communications equipment in Nigeria. Section 70 of the Nigerian Communication Act 2003, hereafter referred to as NTA 2003, empowers the NTC to make guidelines and regulations to give full force and effect to the provision of this act. Alongside Section 134 of the NTA 2003, both of which give rise to the promulgation of the Nigerian Communication Commission Type Approval Regulation 2024. Now, according to the functions of the NCC listed in Section 4, subsection 1, paragraph O of the NTA 2003, the NCC can conduct type approval tests on communication equipment and issue certificates, therefore, according to technical standards and specifications prescribed from time to time by the Commission. Now, the implication of these provisions is that it has become an obligatory duty for equipment holders to possess a type approval certificate in Nigeria. And failure of not possessing this certificate, according to Section 133 of the NTA 2003, would incur a liability on the offender of a fine not less than 100,000 naira and also imprisonment not exceeding 1 year, or both fine and imprisonment. Now, I'll be speaking about the Type Approval Regulation 2024, subsequently mentioned as the regulation. And my top points are going to be based on, first, the conditions for revoking type approval certificates and annulment of exemptions to type approval certificates, and also the content of application for type approval and the consequences of not obliging to the provisions of the regulation. So let's proceed. I'll be speaking about the condition, the contents that are necessary to possess when one wants to apply for a type approval certificate. Now, all applications are to be directed to the NCC, stating first, the applicant's name and contact details, the equipment type, manufacturing brand name, product name, model number, and version number. Then, the statement of confirmation, and also all other necessary informations that are considered confidential according to the regulation. According to Regulation 10 of the regulation, the NCC is bound to review this application and report back to the applicant within 30 days of receiving the application. And in cases of refusal, the NCC is also to include reasons for such refusal. Now, I'll be proceeding to the conditions for revoking type approval certificates and annulment of type approval exemptions. So, pursuant to the regulation, NCC is empowered to revoke type approval certificates and also the annulment of type approval exemptions where there is reasonable evidence that first, the type approval or the exemption was obtained through fraud or misrepresentation, and B, where the equipment does not, where the equipment interferes with other communications network or other communications equipment, and also where the equipment does not comply with the applicable type approval standards, and where the equipment has defects that has become known or was reported to the Commission or any other competent authority, or where the equipment comprises of threats to national security or safety. Now, the exemption to the type approval certificate collection is involved or contained in Regulation 23 of the regulation, where equipment holders who have met certain conditions are not mandatorily obligated to obtain a type approval certificate. Going on, we'll be discussing the consequences for not obliging to the provisions of the Type Approval Regulation 2024. In the avenue whereby there is a failure of an equipment holder to comply with the provisions of the regulation, it will be considered as a contravention to the provisions of the regulation, and the NCC can reach a verdict through any of the regulation contained in the Enforcement Process Regulation 2019. Now, while the NCC has a primary role to play, it should not be neglected that the Standards Organization of Nigeria, also known as SON, also plays a very primary role. The SON is responsible for the regulation of telecommunication devices, especially those that are imported into Nigeria. While there are concerns that there may be a conflict of interest between both organizations, none has been reported so far, as both organizations have been working hand in hand to ensure that the facilities and equipment imported into Nigeria are safe and work efficiently and also do not pose a threat to national security. In conclusion, the type approval is a very crucial concept in the telecommunication landscape in Nigeria, as it ensures safety, efficiency, and interoperability of communication equipment, protecting both consumers and networks. By adhering to the legal framework and NCC's requirements, equipment suppliers and manufacturers can contribute to a robust and reliable telecommunication ecosystem in Nigeria. Thank you.